Hello, everyone. I'm excited to see you, to meet you. Um, can't wait to kick off these office hours. We'll give maybe another 30 seconds for folks to trickle in. And while they do, definitely take a second and fill out this brief sign-up survey to enter a giveaway for our upcoming boot camp. Starts on Monday. And we're giving away one free slot here at this session. So would love to have you there. I'll go ahead and throw the link in the chat. Definitely sign up while we're waiting for folks to join. Again, we'll give maybe one more minute, and then we'll let people hop in. As we do again, for those of you who are joining right now, take a quick second to sign up for the bootcamp giveaway. Anyone who signs up will also get a free discount if you don't win the giveaway. So there's no reason not to sign up. And I'll be leading the first couple sessions of the bootcamp. We'll talk about it more in a second. But would love to have any and all of you there. I'm going to stop share for just a second. Make sure we're all set here. Let's see. Okay, great. I think we're ready to get started. Thanks so much to everyone for being here. I'm just excited to be here and meet you and chat with you. For any of you who are able to turn on your camera and kind of participate live, would love to see you. If you're in transit, totally okay. Feel free to just throw your questions in the chat. But would love to have some live interaction, especially here as we have kind of a smaller group. I'm excited to get to know you and be able to respond to your needs. The first question, I guess, I'll go ahead and introduce myself and then ask about you. But while I'm introducing myself, take a second and throw in the chat where you're at in the consulting recruiting process. So are you interviewing right now? Are you applying in the next few months, applying in a year? All of that will be super helpful to me to kind of give helpful advice for you. But without further ado, I'll go ahead and just introduce myself. I am a McKinsey and BCG offeree. I landed offers at both firms, ended up working at BCG, and then jumping off to found a startup. We got funded by Y Combinator and a few others. But I still love the consulting world. If it weren't for this amazing, crazy startup opportunity that happened, I would still be a consultant today. I'm super excited to help folks like you to break into consulting. I've helped dozens to break into top firms. Had a call with a client this morning who has final rounds with both McKinsey and BCG tomorrow, which is super fun. There's a lot of recruiting going on. I've helped many folks like him and others to get from the kind of very beginning of the process all the way to final rounds and landing an offer, and I want to help you as well. Just a quick plug before we dive in on our management consulting bootcamp. This is the place. I wish I could give all of my advice here, but there's just not enough time. I typically work with clients for 10 plus hours. And I have kind of a big package that you can purchase and work with me. But I realize that there are a lot of those things that are better in a community instead of just one-on-one. And one-on-one coaching is great, super important. But I turned all of my kind of lessons and the things I teach into a boot camp. And it's much cheaper and more accessible, and you get the benefit of the community. So it starts on Monday. It's Mondays and Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. I know all of you are busy, so we're recording it too, just in case you can't attend live. But we'll have tons of deep dives into the different aspects of the recruiting process. So starting off with one session on networking and resume strategy, how to get a referral, all the important things you need to know to land an interview. And then the rest of the session spent on the things you need to know in the interview process. So what are the McKinsey screeners, the case bot, I'll show kind of some of the course here. Things like the behavioral interview, of course, but also structuring, math, market sizing, every aspect of the case interview that you need to nail to be successful. So it's a super valuable course, over $2,500 worth of value. And for everyone on the call today, it's just $800. And that's if you don't win the giveaway. But one of you, 20 some odd people is going to win the giveaway here. You have a really high chance of winning. And if not, you still get $400 off the boot camp. So definitely jump in and sign up there. But I'll kind of reference that a couple times probably here today. It's bit.ly/MBB prep. And would love to have you there. I'm again kind of the architect of the boot camp, and I'll be diving a lot deeper, all these 90-minute sessions on all this stuff. But we've got 30 minutes today, and I want to make the most of it. So we'll briefly touch on as much as I can to be helpful to everyone here. So again, if you haven't already, go ahead and throw in the chat where you're at in the recruiting process. I want to be kind of as helpful in terms of tailoring my advice to you. But I'll just pause here. I want to answer your questions. I can talk through any point in the recruiting process, whether it's early, I'm thinking about consulting, all the way to I've got an offer. What do I do now? How can I respond to that? And excited to chat. So I'll go ahead and start sharing a few things. I've got a question in the chat, which is great. And a couple folks sharing, you're preparing to start applying, switching from a boutique to a top-tier consulting firm. That's awesome. I've helped several folks like yourself, and there's some nuance there, pivoting into consulting after MBA, and looking to, how to land an interview, and some math questions, all of this stuff. Super excited to dive in, and thanks everyone for sharing. I'll go ahead and start off with the first question here, which is, how do you get an interview? The first session of the boot camp, and I'll go ahead and throw the link in the chat again so you can sign up. The first session in the boot camps will be a deep dive on that, but my 2 cents on getting an interview, that in the time that we have, you need to be exceptional. And you need to show the firm that you're exceptional. And so what that looks like is twofold. One is building your resume. And of course, that's performing well academically. So if you're an MBA student or a college student, maximizing your GPA, sharing your top test score. For college students, I actually had a lot of friends who went and retook the ACT. They had maybe a 29. They retook the ACT and got a 32, 34. That made a massive difference in the interview process. And so there's kind of the academic side of things, excellence, being exceptional on that side. Really what they're looking for with the GPA and test score numbers is intellectual horsepower. So that's kind of table stakes. Realistically, you need often a 3.6 plus GPA. You want to stay above 3.8 if at all possible. If you got below a 3.6, for the top tier consulting firms, it's pretty difficult to get in unless you have a super compelling story as to why. And other top 10 firms, still hard, but you could probably get down to a 3.5 if needed. I really think you just do everything you can to optimize that number. And you do want to share your GPA on the resume. So that's the academic side of being exceptional. The work side of being exceptional, it really doesn't matter that much what industry you come from, which is kind of crazy to say. But I've worked with a lot of folks who were high school teacher for 4 years and then went on to work at McKinsey. Folks who were at another consulting firm and then went to BCG. Folks who worked for 3-4 years as an auditor in an accounting firm and came to BCG. And folks from all sorts of backgrounds, chemical engineering, and all the way to political science and more. Really, again, it's all about being exceptional within your field. And so your resume should reflect that. Part of it for business kind of minded folks is showing a big brand on your resume, if at all possible. When you're just applying to internships, if you're in college, you don't need to necessarily have a big brand, but you want to have a big impact. If you're applying for full-time positions as a senior in college, or you're an MBA student applying for first-year internships or full-time positions, you need to have some kind of either a big brand or a big impact on your resume. And that shows that you're exceptional. Big impact is, I've been on a small team and I helped increase revenue by 50% in 5 months or something like that. Being able to quantify what you did to make a huge impact on the team. On the other side, the big brand, you're looking at Fortune 500 companies. Top tech companies are awesome. Other consulting companies are amazing in terms of that work experience being exceptional. But there are also, if you can show that you're exceptional, again, within the chemical engineering field, and you worked at a top tier firm within that industry, you still have a great shot at landing an interview. And then beyond that, you also need to network. So there's a resume side, there's also the networking side. It's absolutely critical, and I can't stress this enough, that you build relationships with folks at the firms. The firm to firm, there are some differences. So Bain, you need to do more networking. They index very heavily on networking. You can have the most amazing resume in the world, and you wouldn't get an interview with Bain if you didn't know anybody. There's folks in the room who are making the decisions. Often you want to be looking at the associate level, like folks who are not too deep in the career. A lot of people will try and network with partners. They're not the ones making decisions about who to interview. They're making the decisions at the final round interview. And you're not going to know who that partner interviewing is going to be. So start at the bottom of the totem pole in terms of networking. Connect with folks who are alumni from your school. If you have any, connect with coaches on Leland, connect with people on LinkedIn. There's a lot of nuances to that outreach. You want to be very crisp and clear. You want to make sure that you make it as easy as possible for them to schedule like a 15-minute coffee chat with you. All of that, we're going to dive into specific tactics in the boot camp. And I'll send out like my cold email template and give a lot more structured advice there. But networking is just absolutely critical. I can't stress that enough. You want to have 2 or 3 people in your corner from every firm that you're applying to seriously. And then that usually should be 4 to 5 firms. You want to be casting a wide net. So that's what it takes to get a that's what it takes to land an interview, and to get all of those people in your corner. It can take outreach to dozens, sometimes even 100 folks, and you want to make sure that that's good quality outreach. So that's generally the process. Now you also want to, with those folks in your corner, you want to land a referral, and again, we'll be talking more in the boot camp about that. But those are all kind of table stakes to land an interview. So jumping now briefly to the case interview. I got a question: how do you deal with really large numbers in case interviews? The first and number one thing I would suggest is breaking it down.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, can I ask one simple question, since it was on networking issue, if you don't mind?
Sorry, I couldn't quite understand you there. It was cutting in and out. Could you say that again?
Yes, can I ask you one question, since it was of networking?
Yes, yeah, please. Happy to follow up on that.
Yeah, so actually, what is your suggestion if someone is from a non-target school and wants to make to one of the consulting firms? And the problem that is via LinkedIn, that he or she is trying a lot, but unfortunately, the responses are not like that. So in that case, what do you do? Do you apply it as a cold application, or I don't know, what is your next step?
Great question. So you definitely still need to apply, but you have to have had conversations with folks at the firms. So frankly, you can do a free 15-minute intro call with coaches on Leland. That I would start there and try and connect with folks, potentially work with the coach. That's a lot of folks who come to Leland are not from target schools. I actually wasn't from a target school. I went to Brigham Young University. I had to do a lot of kind of networking to break in, and I would connect with someone. Once you get in the door with one person, you then want to ask for referrals from that person to their friends in consulting, because those warm relationships are going to be so much more powerful than just cold outreach. But connecting with, whether it's connecting with folks on Leland or doing a significant amount of cold outreach, you need to get that first person in the door. And as you're thinking about that, you can also, beyond just messaging people on LinkedIn, there's a Chrome extension called Contact Out that you can use to get someone's email from their LinkedIn, and you want to email them like 4 or 5 times, frankly, to kind of build that connection. And I have a set of email templates that I'll send out at the bootcamp to kind of help folks. I had a client reach out a couple of weeks ago and was like, "Hey, this like email template's amazing. You know, I was able to get a ton of conversations," and it's because it's very specific. You need to be so clear in your outreach and make it so easy for them to set up a time and respond to you and just say, yeah, 7 p.m. next Friday, perfect, see you then. Because consultants are so busy, they're not reading all these messages. If you can just make it as succinct as possible, that's absolutely critical. So great question. I'm actually going to skip over the case interview question. It looks like a lot more of the questions are kind of related to pivoting into consulting from, you know, other industries or gaining industry knowledge. So I'll jump down here to first, how is the U.S. market different from the UK? And Isaac, if you could maybe clarify before I answer that question, are you applying to the US or are you applying in the UK? I'll let you go ahead and throw a message in the chat there. But I'll jump forward here and respond to that question in a minute. So there was a question: is there a minimum GPA requirement? It's not a hard cutoff, but 3.6, frankly, is generally where you want to be at a minimum. I mean, the folks who get interviews mostly have 3.8, 3.85, 3.9, 4.0. But you can reach down if you have a really compelling story. So then advice to gain more industry knowledge. There's several things you can do. One is, of course, being a part of organizations that are focused on consulting prep. If you're an MBA student or a college student, there are organizations that are specifically focused. There's usually a consulting club at your university, even if it's a non-target school. They often have resources. I have some resources that have industry primers. So basically like a big page on every industry that you might want to know in terms of consulting prep. Definitely let me know. I'll go ahead and throw my Leland profile in here. Just give me a message, and I'd love to send you that doc just to help out. But beyond that, there's definitely some just personal research that you need to do. Realistically, like, you're not going to know every industry like the back of your hand, and that's part of the process of the consulting interview, the case interview, is being able to respond flexibly to questions about an industry that you're not familiar with. And that's something we'll talk a lot about in the boot camp. That's something I talk a lot about with clients, but you need to be flexible. You need to be able to answer those types of questions. So I just went ahead and sent my profile there in the chat. If you want that industry primer, reach out to me and I'll send it to you. There's a lot of great coaches on Leland, but I would love to work with you and help you, especially through the boot camp. But really just give me a message. I want to help and send you that industry primer. So great question there. Jumping back to the question, it's been 2 years after my MBA, trying to pivot into consulting. You could, so if you're 2 years out from MBA, that makes you an experienced hire. And experienced hires, or you've been even a year out of college, 2 years out of college, you're technically an experienced hire. The the level to which you can attain does depend on your level of experience as an experienced hire. So with an MBA, you would be eligible for consultant roles, not associate consultant roles. Without an MBA, you're looking at associate consultant or kind of early analyst roles, kind of the beginner consulting roles. Even without previous consulting experience, if you have an MBA, you're going to get hired as a consultant rather than an associate consultant in most cases. Now, McKinsey is a little bit different. They hire business analysts from MBA and undergrad, and experienced hires all over the spectrum there. So that's something to keep in mind. But every firm, the vast majority of firms do kind of put you at that consultant rather than associate consultant level if you have an MBA. So, and related question, getting from PwC to McKinsey. PwC is a great company to have on your resume. That again helps you stand out as exceptional. You need to apply as an experienced hire. And experienced hires, you can apply at any point during the year. So there's not with MBA internships in full time, with undergrad internships in full time, there are set deadlines in the year. And for all my MBA folks, those deadlines are coming up soon. That our boot camp, I think, aligns really well with the MBA deadlines. But even for anyone else, would love to have you there. But generally with an experienced hire, if you're ready to kind of make the pivot and go get to McKinsey, you could apply as soon as you're ready. And so the first thing you'll need to do is that groundwork of setting up your resume to look amazing and show that you're exceptional. Do the networking with folks at McKinsey. Now, McKinsey, the networking piece isn't quite as important as it is with Bain. You don't need to know as many people, but you do need to know the process really well. And that's why it's important to connect with folks. And so once you've gone through, hopefully, again, gotten a referral, gone through all of that process that we'll strategize on in the first session of the bootcamp, you'll then go, you'll apply, you'll hear back, you'll have a screener. And we have another session about that too. McKinsey basically has, it's called the McKinsey Solve Game. Part of it's basically like a tower defense game. So feel free to go out and do some prep, play some tower defense games online. It actually will help. And there are some free tower or McKinsey Solve Game practices online that you can find. So that's the kind of beginning of the process. And you'll have a couple rounds of interviews and eventually, hopefully get an offer. But that realistically, the biggest hurdle is going to be getting into the interview. And so you need to put in the legwork to do that. Well, I say the biggest hurdle. It's extreme. The interview process is also extremely difficult. So you need to also be parallel pathing with a focus on the case interview while you're networking. To everyone on this call, if you don't remember anything else, actually, I want to just drive this point home. You need to spend time on this. I would allocate at least an hour a day to your consulting prep. I'm going to say that again, at least an hour a day. If you're serious about consulting prep and you have application deadlines within the next 6 months, an hour a day. If you're a year out, 2 years out, maybe 2 hours a week. But building that network, putting in the time, you have to put in so many hours to make this work. So just be realistic about that, and know why you want to do consulting. And consulting is an amazing career path. It's a great way to get exposure to tons of industries, to meet with leaders of companies, to get rapid iteration in terms of your ability as someone to create deliverables, to operate and build discipline. There's so many great things about it, but you have to believe that if you're going to go in and put in all this time. So great questions here. So we had a question. Once you've met one person in consulting, is that your foot in the door of consulting? You've got your, at least let's say you've had a conversation with someone, then once they give you a referral to someone else, that's officially your foot in the door, because you've started a process, a chain reaction where you can get more and more networking done. That's what you need. You need to have someone who's willing to refer you to someone else, who would refer you to someone else, have lots of these networking conversations. And that's true for each of the firms that you should be applying to. There isn't product management consulting. There are two different career paths. Product management and consulting are not the same. So we're talking here specifically about management consulting. Although networking for product management, there are some similarities. So Isaac, you mentioned you're keeping your options open. You're focused on the UK primarily. The main difference in terms of markets across the globe is that there are some different time requirements, and there's also nuances in terms of the application process. So in the UK, you may not actually have the McKinsey Solve game, where that's like a big piece of the puzzle in America. In other countries, your deadlines for applying maybe earlier or later, but generally the process is very, very similar. I've helped folks break into McKinsey, BCG, Bain in countries like Saudi Arabia, Singapore, the UK, South Africa, other places. And even though I don't have international application experience myself, kind of through those clients, I've had a lot of experience and have seen that the process is relatively similar and standardized across the globe, which makes sense. These are multinational firms. They have standard processes. Experienced hiring for McKinsey, great question. So you would apply for a generalist position. Experienced hires generally, unless you have like data experience and you want to apply to the data sector within McKinsey, you still would apply to you still would apply to a generalist position. So that's, yeah, generally, you're going to look for, I would just start by Googling experienced hire McKinsey process, read the articles that they have online. I don't have time to get into it at this point, but that's a helpful starting point for you there. Got a couple great questions. I'll go ahead and answer those. Just wanted to put this back up there since we're coming up on time here. Definitely jump in and apply to the giveaway. We'll announce the giveaway winner in a second. And I'll send that link in the chat again for you to apply while I'm going through this last question. So last question here, how would you answer the why consulting question? Are there any unique ways to approach this question apart from gaining exposure to different industries? That's a great question. Frankly, the most important thing with a lot of the behavioral type questions, like why consulting, is that the behavioral interview and the case interview are actually just two sides of the same coin. A lot of people with the behavioral interview, you answer the why consulting, they just say, oh, I love consulting because ABC. You should be a lot more structured. You should have 3 buckets, reasons why you love consulting. And feel free to steal this from me, but my kind of why consulting was the people, the experience in terms of learning and running up the learning curve, and the industries. And so with industry, there's a very specific industry that I was interested in and still am interested in, which is social impact. And so I talked about the people, and I actually name dropped some like specific people and shared kind of this is what I learned from them and why I would want to work with folks like this. And then under experience, I talked about how I loved running up the learning curve. I'd experienced that at venture capital internships before, running up the learning curve for different industries. And then under this final bucket of the industry or social impact in my case, I talked about BCG's social impact practice. I talked about how that was very important to me in my long-term goals, being someone who is deeply invested in social impact and wanting to eventually think about specializing there. That's not by any means like the cookie cutter perfect response for everyone. But I highly recommend thinking through your response in terms of what are those 3 core things that are most valuable for you. So great questions all. I wish we had more time, and it's been so great to interface with all of you. I'll go ahead and come back here and share the winner. My team has just sent this along. The winner of our giveaway tonight is Saucy. I may have mispronounced your name, Sasi. Super excited to have you in our consulting boot camp. I'll definitely reach out to you individually and get you set up. For everyone else, you should have gotten a text from me. It's my real number. I set up an automated text for everyone else that has the $400 discount for the boot camp. I want to see you there. Don't hesitate to reach out to me for questions via text or at my Leland profile. I definitely want to help you get set up for success. I think the bootcamp will be an amazing extension of this. Great chance to get a lot more questions answered, and we'll be diving through a lot of curriculum and content there. But congratulations, Saucy, and thank you so much to everyone else for being here. Feel free to reach out and ask questions about the bootcamp or anything else. And again, great to see you. Look forward to seeing you at future Leland events. Have a good one, all. We'll see ya.